Hi, my name is Raymond Gabriel. This will be a 2-video series teaching you how to make 2D character animation from any image using GIMP and Blender. First, we'll start by manipulating an image using GIMP and export it out to be used in Blender. Then, in Blender, you will learn how to set up the scene, create a mesh for the 2D character, adding the images as textures, rigging the mesh, weight painting, keyframing to animate the character, and finally, rendering out the project. In this part, you will learn how to separate any 2D character from its background using GIMP, import it into Blender, and setting up the scene, to get ready for the animation in the second part. Without any further delay, let's get right into it. I will use this image for the tutorial. If you want to follow along, you can download the image from the link in the description below. Let's start by opening the image in GIMP. I'm using version 2.10.12. First, we have to trace the object we want to animate in an image, or in this case the cartoon character, by using the Free Select tool. But before that, let's add an alpha channel. This image already have one, but if you are using another image that doesn't have an alpha channel, you can add it by clicking on Layer, Transparency, then add Alpha Channel. Now, let's go to the Free Select tool and start tracing. You can remove points while tracing by pressing backspace. Make sure to press Enter to close the selection. If you want to remove parts from the selection while using the Free Select tool, press Ctrl. While pressing, a little minus sign will appear beside the tool cursor. Now start tracing the part you want to remove. After that, press Enter. If you want to add parts, you can press Shift instead of Ctrl, and a plus sign will appear. After tracing of the character is complete, press Ctrl X, then Ctrl V to cut and paste the selection to a new layer. Right-click on the new layer and select to New Layer. Let's hide the character by clicking the eye beside the newly created layer. Notice that now we have a black space in the background. Now, let me show you how to fill this space and use it as a background for our character. But first, let's change the canvas size. From Image, then Canvas Size, change the height to 1080. We are going to use this resolution later in Blender to set up our scene. Now, in order to fill this space, I will mainly use 4 tools to achieve this, which are Clone Tool, Smudge Tool, Paintbrush Tool, and the Fill Tool. Let's see how to do that. Make sure that the background layer is selected before using the tools. To use the Clone Tool, let's select it. You can adjust the brush size and hardness from here. Then while pressing Ctrl, left-click on any part of the image you want to clone. Let's say here. Now left-click to clone this part of the image wherever you want. Cool. Next, the Smudge tool. It can be used to cover up visible hard edges and make all the colors mixed together. Now, the Paintbrush tool. Instead of using the Clone tool, we can pick a color from the image using Color Picker and then paint that color wherever we see fit. And lastly, the Fill tool. This can be used to fill a selection with a certain color. I will use the Free Select tool to make a selection, and then using the Color Picker to select the color, then select the Fill tool and choosing the option to fill the whole selection, then left click inside of the selection. To remove the selection, from Select, press None. There is a lot more tools and shortcuts that can be used to make this easier, but we'll explore them in other videos. For now, I will only use the tools that I showed you to achieve the final result. I'll be back when it's done. Alright, I think that would work. I'm sure you've done a much better job than me. Anyway, you can download the character and background from the link in the description so you can skip to Blender if you want. To finish up, let's export the images to PNG to get it ready to be imported into Blender. We will need to export each image separate from each other, and another one with both layers enabled. To do that, make sure that one of the layers is hidden, and from File, Export As, find a location to save it in, and then click Export. Now repeat for the other layer, and one more time with both layers enabled. Okay, let's open Blender. I'm using Blender version 2.8, but the same process can be done in previous versions as well. But you might find it difficult to find some of the options, as a lot has been changed with this new version. You can see here the shortcuts that I'm pressing, so you can easily follow the steps. Before we start, let's enable some add-ons that will help speed up the process. Click on Edit and then Preferences, then from the Add-ons tab, search here for Pi and enable these add-ons. This will help switch between modes easier. By pressing Tab, you can see all the modes you can go to appear in this menu. Let's enable another add-on, search for Node and enable Node Wrangler. I will explain this further when we add materials. It basically adds a bunch of shortcuts to speed up our material node setup. Save the preferences from here. We are going to start by setting up the scene. First, select all the items you see by default, then press X, then delete. Now press Shift plus A and add a plane. Rotate on the Y-axis by 90 degrees by pressing R, and then Y for the Y-axis, and then type 90. Then enter. After that, press N to open the transform menu. Change the dimension to match the image size we have, which was 1280 for the width. Let's put that as 1.28 in the Y and 1080 for the height. Let's put that as 1.08 in the X. Let's press Shift plus A again. This time choose Camera. Press Alt plus R to clear any rotation on the camera. Then rotate it so it's facing the plane. By pressing R, then X, and then 90, and again R, then Z, and then 90. Let's drag it backwards by pressing G, then X, then drag it a little, and left click to confirm location. Perfect. Okay, now we have to get the camera to fit the image size. Press 0 on your numpad from View, Camera, Set Active Camera. Make sure that the camera is selected, then from this panel, change the type to orthographic. Change the scale until it fits as much as possible. Press on the number and drag it. If you want to slow down the increments, press Shift while dragging. To get the camera to fit exactly with the image size, we can go to this tab here and change the X value to 1280 and the Y value to 1080. We can return to the Camera tab to change the scale until it fits perfectly. Select the plane, then open the Material panel from here and press New Material. Get your mouse at the corner of the viewport. When you see a white cross appear, left click and while pressing, drag your mouse to split the viewport into two. Press this icon and choose Shader Editor. Now choose the Principled BSDF node. Thanks to the Node Wrangler add-on we have enabled, you can now press Ctrl plus T and you will see 3 more nodes appear. Press Open on this node and choose the image with both the character and the background, as we are going to use it to trace the character first. And after that, we are going to change it to the empty background. You will notice that we still can't see the image on the plane. That's because we still need to UV unwrap the plane. Let's do that. Select the plane, press Tab and choose the Edit mode. Press A to select all, then press U and choose Project from View. Press Tab again and select Object mode. To see the image, press here to enable viewport shading. You should see now the image appear to scale and without any distortion. Now, let's set up the lighting for our scene. Press Shift plus A and from Lights, choose Sun, press the scroll button and drag to get out of the camera view, or press 0 on your numpad. Make sure you have the sun selected, press G to move it, and R to rotate it towards the plane. Then return to the camera view by pressing 0. To increase the intensity of the light, go to this tab here, and let's change the strength to say 5. You might notice that the colors of the image are a bit washed out. Let's try to fix that. From the Render tab, find Color Management, and from here, choose Standard instead of Filmic. Now the scene is ready. Let's start by tracing the character to start animating it. To make things easier, let's enable an add-on to add extra meshes. From Edit, choose Preferences, and from the Add-on tab, search for Extra. You should see Add Mesh, Extra Object. Enable that, and from here, save Preferences. OK, press Shift plus A. From Mesh, go to Single Vert, choose Add Single Vert. That should add a single vertex that we can use to trace the character. Now press Tab and go to Edit mode. Press G and move the vertex to any edge of the character. When I press E, you see another vertex is extended from this one. Then left click to confirm location. I will repeat this step until I have traced the whole character. Alright, to merge the first and last vertex, select one of them, and then press Shift and select the other one. Then press Alt plus M and choose Add Center. Now press A to select all the vertices, then press Alt plus F to fill it with mesh. Let's increase the density of the mesh to get better result with the animation in the following step. Right click and choose Subdivide, and from here increase the number of cuts to 10. Let's move this new mesh forward away from the plane. Remember that we are doing 2D animation in a 3D software, so we have to account for the third axis, even though we won't be seeing it, to ensure that we won't have any problems down the road. Let's get out of the camera view and move this away from the plane by pressing G, then X. Let's create a material for this mesh. Go to the Material tab and press New, and then from here press Ctrl T on this node and Open from here, and choose the character PNG we have created. Let's UV unwrap this mesh to see the material. Choose the new mesh, go to Edit mode, and press U, and then Project from View. To get rid of the black trim, which is actually the alpha channel we have created in GIMP, go to the Shader Editor, press Shift plus A, from Shader, choose Transparent Shader, and again Shift A, and add a Mix Shader. Connect the Principled Shader and the Transparent Shader in the Mix Shader, like that. Take the alpha output of the image from here and connect it to the factor of the Mix Shader. You might get a weird result. Let's switch the shader nodes in the Mix Shader. Well, the black trim still didn't go away. That is because Blender is using a new real-time render engine called Eevee by default. This would normally work fine with the old render engine cycles. We will get to that when we render out the scene. In order for this method to work with Eevee though, we have to go to the Material tab and in the Settings section, change the blend mode to Alpha Clip. There we go, the black trim is now removed. We can also change the shadow mode to None, as we don't want any shadow to be casted from the meshes. Let's change the material for the background to the empty background we have created before, so we can start animating the character. I hope you found this part useful. I will release the second part in a few days, so make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified as soon as it is uploaded. I will keep making new tutorials like this as much as I can. If you'd like to see more of this content more often, you can back me up on Patreon. You can get in touch with me and there is a lot of perks I'm offering. You can check it out from the link in the description. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next tutorial.